Hi, kitty cats. Have you heard of peak trans as this breaking point where people suddenly become gender critical? It's actually a wry nod to a concept called peak oil, which conservative rhetoric now considers ridiculous. But the phrase peak trans really captures the typical conservative denial of science perfectly. It's exactly as peak oil was denied. So tonight, I want to think about peak oil and how peak trans is another perfect example of conservative failure to engage with the real world. It's kind of a bit of a bummer there. I also have a guest coming on tonight. It's my good friend Morgan. I'm also a friend of the show. I'm sure you've seen her leaving comments. She will also talk about her experience with facial feminization surgery. So stick around because there's going to be plenty of goodness coming your way. I'm already seeing Margie. Good to see you, Margie. Hello. Before I go much further, let me do my little live stream plugs and my station identification, I suppose. I am Dr. Amethyst Herrick. I am both an author and a podcaster, and I discuss identity and gender from a scientific standpoint. So you can check out the link below for more information about me and the work that I do. You can see right down there. The website is purplepotclan.com. You can find a page about me that has all of my social media networks, and you can also go to the blog page that has all of my podcasts and all of the articles that I have published as well. So if you like this content, maybe you'll consider subscribing at purplepotclan.com. You can get a subscription for as low as $5 a month, which is sort of fun. I also publish articles and podcasts by other contributors. So if you are interested in contributing your work, your original work about identity and gender, I highly encourage you to email me because you can do that through the contact page on the website. All right, so let's see what we're talking about today. So I'm seeing somebody named Mobile Info number 1. There's your name, Mobile Info number 1. Hello. All right, so let me first of all, hi, hello. So a cool thing, I'm using a new camera tonight. It's kind of, it's not like technically new. It's the same camera that I've been using to make on-demand videos for, I don't know, 6 or 8 months, 8 or 9 months. It doesn't make a difference. But I'm using a Canon R50 through a capture card and, preliminary tests at least, make me think that hopefully, this camera is going to bring increased clarity to these productions. I suppose I should probably say increased visual clarity because I'm not going to make any promises on whether my presentations will have any greater clarity. But there you go. I'm looking at, Ariandria. Hello, good to see you. Oh, and Ash23, there we go. Oh, good. The quality of the camera looks good. Sweet. Thank you so much. Good to know that. So here we go. There's a fascinating thing here. I heard this phrase, peak trans. So it was somebody who had emailed me, and I had to ask what it meant because I'm like, where does this even come from? I'm going to cover that in more detail later, but the short answer here is that when people get tired of debating with transgender people and just decide to turn gender critical. That seems to be the short story there. So, oh, cool. Okay, well, so Ariandria, you're saying, yes, I have been well, first of all. Thank you for saying hello. Thank you for sending the love. Go eat some dinner. If you're hungry, go do it. All right, so I had to ask what this thing meant, this peak trans phrase. I got to turn on my headphones because when Morgan comes in, otherwise I'm not going to hear her. So I related peak trans to peak oil. So what's peak oil? Well, peak oil is a concept about the extraction and production of petroleum products. It was a huge thing if you go back to, it started around the 1970s, became a big thing in the 80s and then the 90s. We talked about it in the 2000s, and then it suddenly died off. And there were a lot of reasons for that, for what it's worth, including a sudden drying up of federal funding. But the biggest was just simply denial. It's this belief, typically a conservative belief, that we're always going to find new sources of oil. So tonight, what I'm going to talk about, I want to talk about, first of all, why peak oil is interesting to me, because why not? This is a peek into my background that, maybe you care about. Maybe some of you out there care about it. Why is peak oil, as the kids say, why is peak oil even a thing? And once I've gone through that, I want to talk about why peak trans, this phrase peak trans, captures the attitude that I've seen around peak oil so perfectly. Because it was, I was only thinking about it this morning, and I was like, oh gosh, it's so exactly the same thing. So let me get to this. I just made a funny noise with my teeth. I hope that didn't. Yes, we're going to peek into peak oil. There you go. So let's see. Back in the 1990s, I was in graduate school. So back in the 1990s, I ended up working on a couple of projects related to solar energy. Now, typically when you make a solar panel, it's typically made out of amorphous silicon, is what that's called. So it's silicon. What I was working on was trying to fabricate two compound semiconductors. One was cadmium selenide, the other was cadmium telluride. And both of them, we assume, well, it's not even we assume, both of them actually are better at solar conversion efficiency than amorphous silicon. And when you're going to make a panel, you want to make it as efficient as possible. So that's what you do. We were trying to make cad selenide, cad telluride as cheaply as possible. It's better at solar conversion, but a little bit of a bummer here. It's also made with cadmium. And cadmium is a heavy metal, which is a shame. Very, very close to lead on the periodic table. It tends to poison people, the people who work with it long term. Assuming you're not using very good, safety protocols, which hopefully you are. The downside, another downside of compound semiconductors, because, it's a bummer to get poisoned, but if you use enough, if you're good with safety, you should be okay. The downside of compound semiconductor solar panels is also abundance. Silicon is one of the most abundant elements on the planet. In fact, it's found usually as silicon dioxide or sand, which maybe you've noticed. There's a lot of that about. Cadmium, not so much. So it's much more expensive to pull out cadmium from the mantle of the earth and use it. So the other thing that I was, one of my big claims to fame, it's not a big one, but first of all, hi, Miss Chief, good to see you. My big claim to fame, so this is in the 1990s, was fabricating copper indium diselenide, which is a great, it's a great, mouthful to say there too. Another fascinating fact too, when we abbreviated that, it was CIS or CIS. Look at that. Even back in the 90s, I was apparently using that. So copper indium diselenide is actually supposed to be better suited to a solar panel than even amorphous silicon. Theoretically, I don't even think it's theoretical, it's better at solar conversion efficiency. And so we were trying to make a solar panel, or we were trying to fabricate copper indium diselenide electrochemically so that, we could say we could make a solar panel out of this. I did end up doing it electrochemical. We even published a paper about it. It's in the 1990s. You're not going to see amethyst herrick on the page. On the journal article, but that's fine. So I made it electrochemically. So let's fast forward. So we're going to jump in the machine and go all the way into like the late what do we call that? The late aughts, the late 2000s. Does that work? That's fine. If we fast forward to the 2000s, I was doing postdoctoral research with a graduate advisor who worked a lot with dye-sensitized solar cells. Another big mouthful for you there. Nothing really amazing about this. A dye-sensitized solar cell, rather than using a semiconductor, uses typically an optically clear semiconductor that has a big band gap. And it's optically clear because it actually has a big band gap. And if you're going, that's fine. You just don't worry about it. The point is that you can see through it. You can hold it up to your eye and go, wow, look at that. And then you absorb a dye to the surface. It's the dye that ends up being excited by solar photons from the sun, and there's an electron transfer from the dye. And that's kind of cool. The idea with a dye-sensitized solar cell was that, if they're optically clear, then maybe you could get sunlight from both sides. So perhaps you could improve, efficiency that way. And then there's also, even if you don't do that, there's the possibility that maybe you could, put it as a window. I don't know, make something up. Like if you have a warehouse or something, maybe you could have a dye-sensitized solar cell as a window. It's letting light in so that you can see. Generally good when you're carrying heavy boxes, from my experience. Anyway, there's a little bit of a bummer with that. They do require a liquid electrolyte, which is a shame because it is a full electrochemical cell. So, they're fragile. But another thing that I was working on. So during this postdoc, I went to a conference. It was actually in Boulder, a conference, and I think it was 2008. It may have been very early 2009. I forget exactly. But it was a solar conference. It was for people working on solar energy production. And I saw a presentation by a guy named Nate Lewis. An interesting aside from Nate Lewis, to Nate Lewis, when I was an undergraduate, I worked for a professor at UC San Diego, named University of California at San Diego, named Mike Saylor. Mike Saylor had been a postdoc for Nate Lewis, so in some ways I'm like a granddaughter chemist, I guess, of Nate Lewis. Anyway, he's a bang-up guy. He's at Caltech. Super smart dude. Honestly, probably a serious contender for a Nobel Prize in chemistry. Like, that smart. He's a truly amazing person. Really, really super amazing. The presentation that he gave that day was about how fossil fuels are running out. And this was not new, right? This is not a surprise. Like, we know very well, we've known since we started extracting oil that we use it faster than we make it. So this was not a surprise. But that was really what kind of ended up being my introduction to the idea of peak oil. So this was my interest ended up being my introduction. So let me check comments, because I do love doing that. Why not? Margie says you're loving the chemistry and physics nerding out. Yeah, I wanted to do a little sciencey thing. I know I talked about magic on Sunday, right? So I'm like, let me do something that sort of lives up to my my title of scientist. And there you go, Anita. What a phenomenal way of saying that. Even in the 90s, I was struggling with being cis. Yeah, that's the better way of saying it. Because it was 94 when I was in graduate school, I guess, that I ended up really coming to terms both with my sexuality and my gender. So pretty funny. Margie says she knows what big band gap means. Yeah. So, because I think you've actually done semiconductor physics. So there you go. I think that's probably true. Pretty cool. There we go. Wait, Trace, you're seeing double in the chat? I don't know. Somebody's saying I look gay. All right. I guess thanks. Peak oil. The phrase peak oil is used as a shortcut. It is short for the complete phrase, which would be global peak conventional oil extraction. Okay. I've already done compound semiconductors, and I've done copper indium diselenide. Here's another. Global peak conventional oil extraction. The important word in this in that phrase is conventional. Because when we started extracting oil from the, and it's important, you'll hear people use the words oil production. That's that's wrong. We don't produce oil. What we do is we extract it from the ground, because that's what we can do. We have nothing. We can't produce oil. We can only pull it out of the ground and distill it, process it from there. So the important word here is conventional. So run with this for a second here. When we first started extracting oil from the earth, we found oil reserves close to oil reserves close to the surface, and it literally like spurted out of the ground. Okay, it was it's the kind of thing that's the way it works. Because, one second, folks, because I see that we have. Oh, maybe not. Okay. Anyway, so what you can do, when you first started extracting oil, it would actually spurt out of the ground. You'd have like an oil well. It was like the Beverly Hillbillies. I don't know if you ever saw that show, but they show at the beginning, like, the hell's his name? Jed Clampett? Is that the guy's name? Who knows? Anyway, but the guy is like tilling his field or something and discovers oil, whatever. So peak oil, it was easy to extract this stuff because it will literally come out of the oil on its own. Peak oil, global peak conventional oil extraction, is a concept that we will someday reach a place where we can't extract oil easily out of the ground. Easily, okay? That doesn't mean there's not oil out there. There is oil out there, but we should be able to predict a decrease in the amount of what's called light sweet crude oil being found. And sure enough, starting from about the 1970s, going into the 90s, and then certainly by the year 2000, when we looked at the rate of finding new light sweet crude oil fields, we saw a decrease, and as a result, many predictions started being made. And so we started thinking of 2009. 2009 would be the manifestation of peak oil, because at that point we would start finding fewer and fewer easily extracted oil fields. Let me check some comments really fast, because Margie, do they have trombones in the big band gap? I didn't even see that. That is great. Margie then follows up with, yes, 76 of them, quite true. 110 coronets right behind. There you go. And yeah, thank you. So the nose chain here, I got it put on last Thursday. Yeah, it was last Thursday. And it was funny because I keep on thinking it's gonna break. But then I will I'll rub my face or something and go, oh crap, that probably just, and I go, oh, it didn't touch it at all. So thank you. Delos is saying that looks great on me. No need to be jealous, believe me. Good to see Brenda. There's Brenda. And there we go. Yeah, Miss Chief, you got it. Then one day, I was trying to remember how that song went. One day he was shooting up some food, and up from the ground came a bubbling crude. What was it? He struck gold, black that is, something like that. I don't even know. Oh, Morgan asks how the chain was made custom length. Honestly, all they did, there was like somebody who got a piece of, they had a chain, and then they cut it and welded, whatever they're called, jump rings on it, and then slapped it into my, the two studs that were in my nose. So anyway, there you go. All right, back to peak oil, because why not? You're probably saying to yourself, hey, we're still using oil. Oil extraction apparently has not fallen off. In fact, we would likely say from 2009, we've actually seen an increase in the use of energy globally, which is true. But again, peak oil talks about conventional, easy oil extraction. Hey, Thistle. Since 2009, when we believe we reached peak oil, many new techniques that were previously not profitable have become more attractive. One of those is fracking. That's not easy. It takes water and sometimes sand, and both of those cost money. We can also extract it from sulfur tar sand. That's not easy. Then there are also deep lakes. Important word being deep. You got to drill way the hell down. Deep lakes that have oil floating on the top of it. But all of these techniques require more energy than the extraction of light, sweet crude. And so now we have to think about a concept called net energy. I'm going to get there in one sec, but let me check this because what I see? Yeah, sweet oil does sound like it has carbohydrates in it. Now, what it's worth, carbohydrates are carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen, right? And light sweet crude typically does have, a certain amount of schmutz in it that gets distilled out. And so we distill, or actually, I guess we distill the pure, more pure hydrocarbons as opposed to carbohydrates. So there you go. Texas tea is used by trans masks in Austin. That's pretty funny. Wait a minute, the grandma in Beverly Hillbillies is still alive? Oh my gosh. It was a little girl, this is what Miss Chief is saying, it was a little girl dressed up to look old. Get out of town. All right, Laverne LeMay is here as well, who also says resist. I stand with you. With a poomoji. Yeah, resisting poomojis. I agree with you. Okay, so here we go. Net energy. Oh, yeah. Thistle brings up, there's an environmental impact when fracking. No doubt. And I'm not debating that, and I'm not diminishing that. That's another consideration. Quite true. Let's think about. Oh, geez. Well, I went to the wrong place there. Let's think about net energy, though. As I mentioned at the very beginning, oil is a limited resource. Period. And we know this. We've known it. We have always known it since we started using oil. Since we realized where oil likely came from. Solar energy is limited as well. However, it's also limited on the order of billions of years instead of hundreds, because we reached peak oil over the course of less than 200 years, which is pretty impressive. So billions of years instead of hundreds. And I guess at the end of the day here, by the time we reach the limit of solar energy, like the amount of fuel that's in the sun, we're going to have much bigger worries than whether or not we're going to be able to turn on the TV and binge watch Beverly Hillbillies, on Netflix. That's what Miss Chief's going to be doing. She'll be like, oh, it's the end of the world. Let me turn on Beverly Hillbillies. Texas tea. All right, so why am I bringing this up? I liked solar panels because, at least in my naive little mind in the 1990s when I was going into graduate school, now I have a naive little mind in the 2020s, but that's fine. I liked solar panels because the idea is you fabricate it, you put it in the sun. Yeah, no, that's it, actually. Fabricate the thing, stick it in the sun, you're done. You can get free power till the end of the earth, like literally, when the sun blows up. But it is not that simple. And it's not that simple because of this concept, net energy. And it turns out fabricating a solar panel, even the cheap ones, amorphous silicon, okay? Amorphous silicon solar panels, which is what you see, which is what I have on top of my roof. Fabricating a solar panel actually takes more energy than the amount that you get out of it over its entire useful life. Because there's upkeep you have to do. Sometimes they get broken, so you have to replace them. There's also the electronics that you have to worry about. Overall, a solar panel represents negative net energy. It turns out that we have not found an energy source with positive net energy other than petroleum, other than oil. Somebody's going to say fusion. What about fusion? Well, what about fusion? Well, we've spent billions of dollars at this point trying to make fusion work, and we do put a tremendous amount of energy to start fusion going. I actually wrote an article about this, about the Livermore National Labs. Yeah, Lawrence Livermore National Labs, when they fired their fusion reactor the first time. So it was like a couple of years ago. I wrote an article about that because they're like, woohoo! And it's like, yeah, but look at how much money you've spent to get here, and we got so little energy out of it. That is a huge net negative at this point. Anyway, when we're extracting light, sweet crude, at the very beginning, anyway, the cost was about 1 barrel of oil worth of energy. Okay, so if you take 1 barrel of oil, you could expend that much energy, and you'd extract about 300 barrels of oil. That's pretty good. Like, that's a really good positive net energy. With these newer, obviously less efficient methods, we're down to more like 1 barrel of oil to extract 30 barrels of oil. So yes, we can extract it, but it does end up costing much more energy to extract this oil. Hey there, Cat Dad Andy. I remember you from last time. It costs much more energy. And the thing is, you're pulling oil out of the ground, but you do have to use it. So you in order to keep oil extraction going, you have to keep burning the oil that you're using to extract it. So at some point, this margin gets to the point where you're like, well, it's not worth doing it anymore. In order for petroleum products to end up being useful in the long term, we would have to keep making more innovations. And we're running out of innovation, folks. We're running out of places we can extract petroleum. So, after 2009, because I know that Morgan's going to come in a sec, so I'm going to save the very last part, my little stinging part, for after Morgan and I talk. After 2009, the world didn't fall apart. I mean, like, maybe you noticed, because here we are. And as a result, we had conservatives, in particular, calling this idea of peak oil a failure of liberal politics. Failure of liberal politics. Some of them might have said science, but probably not. Because it's so much easier just to point at a politician and go, well, that person's stupid. This is why peak oil didn't happen, because that person's stupid. Now, on the other hand, there were people like me and my graduate advisor and Nate Lewis and then my postdoc advisor who were not politicians who knew pretty goddamn well what was going to be going on here. Yes, we are still afloat. And we don't know how much longer we will be, because there's a lot of things at risk here. Thistle brought up the environment. There are always currency exchange rates. There's so many things that go into what it's going to cost to extract oil and further petroleum products out of the ground. So, denying peak oil, denying it became a standard rally cry for conservative denial of science. And this is very similar that we've seen already with anthropogenic climate change. Because the Earth has cycles, we go, well, look, it used to be warmer. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that we're not speeding it up. So it's denial. It ultimately becomes denial. We keep on borrowing time. Or we have been borrowing time, but we cannot borrow time forever. So, I'll tell you what, actually, I'll wait until Morgan comes in because I'm close to the end of this. So, peak trans, as far as I'm understanding this, when I heard it from this person, actually, let me check comments really fast. So, solar power. Thistle says, solar power, there's a trick in the game, astroneer, the planets aren't tilted right, so both the north and south poles get 24 hours of sunlight. Ooh, I didn't know that. That's kind of fun. Oh, Morgan just came in. Give me a couple minutes, Morgan. Hang on. So Morgan actually brings up there's a breakthrough dark metal that was just announced. What was the other one? Produces 15 times more energy than other solar panels. We'll have to talk about that. But Thistle says we're not at fusion. Nope, very true. Let's see. How does that work geometrically? All right, astroneer. So here we go. Grazing sunlight. Where are we going? Grazing sunlight all the time. Yeah, that was the idea, right? You plop that thing in the sun and you go on and on and on. So Brenda brings up the point we're still in the infancy of alternative energy. We'll get better as long as we continue to invest in it. I know I want to believe that. And I'm saying it like that because there is no other alternative energy source we've found that that has a positive net energy other than petroleum. That doesn't mean we won't find one, but it's probably a good idea. And I've said this in several places. It's probably a good idea for us not to assume that science is going to save us. We probably want to take some action now. And that's part of what I'm trying to say here. This has become a conservative denial technique to say, well, science will save us. Guess what? I'm one of those scientists. And you know what's happening? You're denying what I have done. You're denying my understanding of this whole thing. So there's this push-pull where conservatives go, oh, well, science will save us, but fuck the scientists, right? Because they don't know anything. I'm just going to deny what they've done. I mean, we're going to deny these observations that we've seen for at least 50 years. If you want to talk about climate change, 150 years. So anyway, so much more I could say around that, Brenda. And unfortunately, fortunately, I'm going to talk to Morgan. And then we're going to get back to these, okay? I'm going to put a pin in Brenda's one thing there, and I will get back to some of these comments, I swear. So here we go. Let's go to Morgan. Here we go.
Hey.
Hey, Morgan. Look at you. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am doing okay. So let's see. Gosh, so the way you and I met, I think you actually reached out to me. Is that right? Did we meet on like Medium or something?
So yeah, we met. Well, first I started reading your articles because I was going through my transition journey. We had a lot of similarities, and so I really liked following along with your articles and your journey of discovering who you were. And I was going through something very similar. And then when you started kind of, interacting with people, where I started commenting, and like it was a really cool way to just kind of
Yeah.
I'm not alone, right? Which is so important, and I think it's also part of discovering who we are. It's that there's other people like me, and I'm not alone in my struggles or whatever. And
Yeah.
you helped me kind of when a lot of the other authors didn't. And I read a lot on Medium to the point where I bought a subscription and stuff. But yeah, it was really helpful back then. I think that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, 2 years ago.
23. Easily. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. That was a lot of. I wasn't fishing for compliments. I
No,
appreciate
no, it's just the
that.
truth.
Thank you. Well, who do you want to talk about? You got facial feminization surgery.
Yeah, so that
That's
was my
fun
most.
stuff.
And you don't have to have surgery to be like, of like officially trans or whatever. Like, I think it's more of a mindset, right? And like, what labels do you want to prove, like assign to yourself? And I think, this whole journey is like discovering who you are and living authentically for me.
Yeah.
And I think for a
Agreed.
lot of people, surgery is kind of part of that journey. And so, and I did it to feel more comfortable in my skin and externally presenting.
Yeah.
And then here's the thing, like with facial feminization surgery, FFS, it's really subtle, right? So there's like umpteen different things that they can do. It's just a collection of small surgeries. And like in the end, it has made a difference, especially when I interact with other people. But like for me, live through it, it doesn't really seem like it is. But when you take up all the little changes, like we as humans are really good at like finding little differences. Like someone gets a haircut, oh, you changed something, right?
Right.
Unless you're totally absorbed in something else.
Which is possible. Or
Yeah.
you're a man, I guess. That's the
I think there's
could be
some men
that
that are
too.
definitely observant,
Yeah.
and there's definitely some women that aren't. But yeah, I was I've been pretty lucky with the people I've found and have entered my life and who continue to show themselves. It was hard to lose some of the people I thought were, and that's probably
Yeah.
one of the hardest pains was for just discovering more about who you are. And I'm like, I'm the same person. I might just have a little bit different shell, but they're like,
Yeah.
no, I can't do that. And what's funny is a lot of them have certain things in common, but in the end, it was they weren't comfortable with you changing their perception of who you were.
Right. Right.
And
That is a beautiful
and
way to say that.
well, thank you. I think, and I've had to do a lot of thinking on this because we have to change our perception of who we are too. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
and I think everybody does. Like, why do you think so many people have a midlife crisis, or, they're
Right.
unhappy and they don't know themselves as well, or there might be a billion reasons. But I mean, in your writings were going through that very process. Like, you were having an internal dialogue about who you were, and I could really identify and see myself in that.
Thank you.
You know,
I appreciate that.
yeah. Well,
So
yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry. I won't cut
No,
you off. I'm getting
no, I was just saying,
compliments.
it's yeah. Don't stop your enemy or your friends when they're doing the things that you want, right? Um, I know that's not a perfect quotation of it, but
It's close enough.
I think this is in living more authentically. I can't put up with people that don't. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
Oh my
it's
gosh,
totally fine
yes.
if they're on their journey. Great, at least they're endeavoring to do that. But people that like deny who they are to a point where they're toxic, they're really unhappy, but they've chosen to continue to live that way. That's kind of unfortunate, right? And that
Very.
doesn't have to be queer people; it can be anyone. And you look at how many people are unhappy in their job, and it doesn't reflect their values, or
Yeah.
um, their partner or whatever. It just and it's people change too, right? I mean, trans means change, right? It means a cross, but it all has to do
But
with like the change of things, right?
yeah, transition.
And
I mean, yes,
yeah,
definitely.
and it's sad that we've been politicized, but like I think what it's all about is people learning to like not tell other people how to live their lives and learning to accept their own. And I think so for me, FFS surgery is like was a is this something that really will get me to a place further along my journey? And after a lot of back and forth, I thought yes. And it was the process of going through it that affirmed that actually. So even though I didn't know if I had the confidence and the know how to do it, um, it was really like uh, this is something I want, and I can't do it for someone else. Otherwise, I'm not going to
Yeah.
be happy. I'm not living authentically, and I made that mistake
Yeah.
too many times. But living authentically is something the whole world needs you to do, right? Like, how many people would just be happier if they could just change a little something about themselves? Um,
I think everybody. I don't think there's a single person. If you said, look, is there any one thing you would change about yourself? I think almost everybody. I don't think there's one person who wouldn't say yes.
mhm.
I know that came out really stilted, but I think everybody
No,
would
I
go,
get it.
yes, I would find something to change about myself. So I
Um,
agree.
I know you've had a lot of recent changes, and is there any that you regret or favor the most? Like, what about you?
I mean, it's a good question. We were supposed to talk about you, but
Oh, I'm happy
um,
to talk about me, but
I
this is
mean, I
also
don't.
talking about people that live authentically,
Oh,
so it isn't the way it
yeah,
is.
the whole experience. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because what I ended up to. Well, Thistle says she's
I
perfect,
just
so
saw
okay,
that.
all right. The one, there's one. We found one. I don't. I'll tell you there are a lot of things that I think, especially like changing my gosh, what would I call it? Vocation, I suppose, is the word I'm looking for. I've regretted that. I'm going to say
Mhm.
regretted because I'm like, oh, I'm not making money, yada yada, and then I look at my life. I think about the way. You know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say no, and I'm going to tell a story that I was not going to tell. I think ever, but you brought up a great point. Last night, so I wasn't wearing makeup and I was wearing glasses. Usually, I want to wear glasses if I'm wearing makeup because the glasses kind of mask that I don't need concealer and stuff like that. But I had taken my glasses off. I was I was reading, and it's easier for me to read without glasses on. Not the point. But I'm like brushing my teeth or whatever, and I remember I go into the bathroom and I look in the mirror and I go, oh. And I don't know exactly what it was. My hair was maybe a little different. I don't know exactly. But I looked at myself and I went, oh, I'm actually pretty. And it was without makeup, without everything. and actually said into the mirror, I said, Rebecca, Selena, Amethysta, you are here and you're beautiful. And those were my two other names. I used Rebecca when I was an undergrad and Selena when I was a graduate student, and obviously now I'm using Amethysta. But it was so interesting to wrap all that up and suddenly go, holy cats, I see myself.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to leave it at that. So there have been like minor, I guess I would say minor setbacks, things that I
Mhm.
go, oh, I regret that it started off bad. But like long term, I mean, even Thistle says, "Aw." I would say like long term, no regrets, none whatsoever.
Hmm.
Because I've had moments like that where I just go, zoinks. I see myself, and it's so worth it. So,
Yeah.
what about you? Are you? Is there anything you would go back on? You regret now?
So you talk about like finally seeing yourself and learning to. It's in a way, it's like learning to love yourself, right? And who
Yeah,
you are. I think why else live authentically, right? If you could live as someone else and be happy, cool.
yeah,
But there's something truly awesome. I think like the heart. I've dived into the world and learned a lot of things, but I think the hardest and deepest waters I've ever been is the ones that turn internal. And I've seen other people doing it, and it's like that's what I saw before I contacted you back in 2023. Like
yeah,
I read your articles and saw you diving deep every week, and like well, I'm just thinking like what we do is sometimes we do what's been modeled to us and what's
yeah.
been made okay by watching other people do, right? And then
Right.
we can become that same thing. And so you asked me like, is there anything I would change or want to do? Sure, there's all sorts of things, but at the same time, I'm so grateful for who I have in my life and who I am right now, and like the struggles I do have because I've gotten here. And let me tell you,
Right.
like, there's a couple times that probably I wouldn't have, but there's always some little thing if you can identify to keep going when everything else seems to be shit. Um, and it's that identifying the little things that lead to bigger things, and then you start putting them together in this new idea of who you are. And this is me, and this is truly me, and
Yeah.
it's not limited again to trans people. So like, but you have to be able to see it as for the journey it is, right? So, yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that are I would call it isolated things if I could put them in. And sorry, I'm just gathering my thoughts. That I maybe would have wished came out a little bit different, but in the end, it led to something else that I couldn't have anticipated. So, in the long scheme of things, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have changed anything, but
Yeah.
I would love to have more effect on other people, right? And so, like, because I think in right now with all the shit going down, and our communities need each other more than ever, and we need that support network to make sure that when are starting to falter and fall down, that we have somebody to help pick us back up, and we
Yeah.
have you know our neighbors are able to step in and help us, and then community ultimately, right? And so then when
Yeah.
we're good, we give back and so on. um,
Yeah.
so I would change my focus on outreach. um, I spent a long time thinking that it was better being alone and that I was alone and no one could understand me, when there's
Yeah.
several people that have walked in a very similar journey just before that.
Yeah.
I would have also gotten a bigger support network earlier on. And um,
That's a good point.
you should kill
Yeah.
some of these people that are
I,
like, just kill their chats. They're kind of dumb. But you know what? We need all people, right? This is
you're
true. I think
right.
this world needs all types, but we all can choose to be kinder.
Oh, for
And that's a
sure.
struggle for me too, because I hate some of the shit going down. It's really hard to not hate the people, but hate the
Yeah.
action.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I'm with you.
um,
Can
I
can
wanted to
we?
get back to FFS because I think
Yeah.
there was a really important piece here. I chose to do it.
But before we can we actually let's check out some comments because there's a whole lot of good comments there. First of all, I'm seeing you're not seeing this one, but I do see Ash. Good to see you, Ash. I've been loving the videos you made recently. I don't know if you're still here, but if you are,
Hi, Ash.
good job. I've been loving those. Having a good time. Having a good time watching those. Okay, so we got a few. So we've got a few here. I'm gonna go up to let's see. So Thistle says she loves having the moments where she sees herself or feels, feels authentic, and it's great.
Mm.
Delos, thank you for telling me I'm beautiful. I do appreciate that. Brenda says she's waiting to see herself, but I'm going to tell you, sister, it'll happen. I think it'll happen. I'm I'm confident you will end up at some point at least going, wow, I see. How did I put it? There was an article that I wrote way back where I said, I will consider my transition successful when I see enough of myself to accept the rest of myself, I think is how I put it. Does that sound like me?
You've written a few articles. I think last count I saw was like 400 or something like that
I don't,
between all the stuff you've
well,
published.
oh
I don't know.
gosh, yeah. All the stuff, yes. Probably closer to 5 at that point. But Alyssa says she's happy for me. Thank you. To appreciate that. I think Drace brings up a really interesting question. I'm going to pop it up. Do you think this is an internal perception or if it's also external and seen by others? Being trapped inside my own skull, it's hard for me to judge. Do you want to take a crack at that first, Morgan? I got an idea, but do you want me to keep it up too? I can.
Sure, yeah, it'd be helpful.
Okay.
So I've always wondered if that's an internal perception. I think we can never anticipate what people think of us, and we always think they're thinking of us more than they probably actually are, right? And so
Yeah.
it's the same. People treat us kind of like how we put ourselves out there. And I know we've talked about this before. You've definitely covered it. So, like, if you show up and you're confident and you feel like $1,000,000, people are probably going to treat you more that way. There's always going to be people
Yes.
that they're just going to do what they do, but chances are that's true. And so I think like I for sure suffered like being trapped in my own thoughts and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
and that would also equate to how I thought people would think of me and treat me. But then I was surprised time and time again when I actually put myself out there and approached people with a little bit of authenticity and vulnerability. And time again, I was surprised. And then but
Yes.
that fed back into my confidence and changed, ultimately led to some of my change of thinking and got me out of my skull. And so
Yeah.
you have to step out of your comfort zones to get out of your head sometimes. And it really helps to do something that you haven't done before, maybe even just little steps, you know. But that's just my thoughts.
I think it's a good, no, I think those are good. I like those because I think it's both. I think that we do. I mean, Drace, this is an excellent question because I think that, I mean, first of all, obviously there's some external parts to what we're talking about here. I mean, whether you're getting surgery or whatever, obviously there are external parts, but I think much of it is internal. I'd also mirror what you said, Morgan. I think that so often we think that other people are thinking about us and they are
Mhm.
not. They're like, what am I going to have for lunch? It's like, do you have a cheeseburger? What am I
Imagine
going
in
to
my
eat?
teeth, like
Yeah, right. Like they're not thinking about us at all. So I think a lot of that is internal because it needs to be a personal confidence. And I think at least for me, part of what I saw last night not not external, but rather now 3 years worth of me going, "Ooh, I am who I am," and and
yeah.
and that was that was beautiful in itself. So thank you for that question. I appreciate that. I want to ask you a question too. So, because yeah, let's talk about the surgery first. How long did it take? Because I know that there was some duration here.
So the surgery itself took about 8 hours, 7 to 8 hours, and so it totally changes what you have done. So I had a double deviated septum, so like breathing for me was a little harder. So it was a perfect opportunity to work on that, and so that means they have to like go and crack some stuff. I mean, it's
Oof.
common that they will do a whole bunch of things. So they helped with my hair just a little bit, so you can see like a little bit of a scar that's healing, and
Yeah,
that takes up to
yeah.
a year to heal. So there's a little bit of physical after effects. Like I had a lot of bruising and stuff. I'm still having a little bit of a vision problem, so it's not immediately like fixed. So there's a duration to this before, during, and after. The prep work was a lot of work because I had to get sign offs from medical
Yeah.
people, and there's an average rate now across the country of 18 months from start to
Oh my
finish.
gosh.
And just
Yeah,
to be
wow.
seen, the consultation is 3 to 6 months, and then the wait
Oh
period after that
jeez.
is about a year, right? So, um, yeah, it's pretty crazy right now. So, if it's something someone's considering, I'd say get in and see as many doctors as for consultations as you can, and make
Yes.
sure that they take your insurance first if you can. If not, like what you did was going to Thailand was probably a great idea because it's a lot cheaper than here. Like the
Mm-hmm.
surgery I had could easily be about $80,000, but with insurance it's a lot less. But then there's a lot more. It's just to get it covered, right?
Yeah.
um,
Yes.
and like if you live in a place where like Washington State actually has mandates that all insurance carriers have to have support for gender affirming care,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
is pretty cool. I think Colorado does too, right?
Yes. Well, it is, for what it's worth, it's on the I don't know if that has passed just yet.
Okay,
It may or may not, but as far as I know, it's supposed to go into effect. Yeah,
cool.
I can't remember if it was completely passed. If it passed
The house.
the state, yeah, the state government. So,
Hmm.
but
You,
so
you know, oh, go ahead.
Drace asks the question too. Drace asks the question: is it due to increased demand, or is it due to decreased available medical services? I think that's a good question.
There's actually websites I know that will go state by state, and if not, they'll try to match you up with insurance that's in your area. Like, this is a tricky thing right now. There are clinics that will also offer a non-insurance rate, and sometimes they'll have I forget what's called, like a mercy rate or something like that, where
Mm,
it's a discounted rate for people that have low income or no income. Um, and then sometimes you can get referrals through clinics that have that sort of support. Um, Obviously, in certain areas, there's nothing, right?
oops, sorry, didn't mean to show
That's
that. I'm
okay.
trying to get rid of the person.
And I think we've all like I had problems with my insurance, and I know you did too, right?
Yeah, that's why I went to Thailand.
Yeah, I think doing your homework early and finding doctors that are good. And there's a lot of websites. So how do you evaluate that? That was a really
Right.
hard problem for me. Like, also, what if you want surgeries? Which ones do you get in which order? I think it boiled down for me like which ones would make me the most comfortable being around people the soonest. And so,
Yeah.
and do I have a whole bunch at the same time? Do I break them apart? If so, what sort of healing time in between? And
Right.
that it was hard to find a source for that information, right? Because a lot of people have their own experience, but they don't explain why or how they got there, right? Um, I know it's top surgery and facial stuff is common to have together. Um, yeah, it's just
That
and in
seems
fact,
like it would be really difficult to do all at once, but
some people have. Um, I know for certain people it's hard to go under, right? So
true,
especially if
very
you have
true.
red hair.
Yeah. If you have red hair, wait, what? I'm not. Is
So
that
if
true?
Yeah, it's a real. So when I was married, she had problems with anesthesia, and
Oh my
so
gosh.
um, yeah, like and she'd wake up and have problems. So it's typical in
Oh
people with like red
gosh.
hair, especially, to have
Yeah.
problems with
Wow.
anesthesia and wake up early or require different amounts,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. So I'm seeing Margie is going. Margie, I'm sorry if this is, this isn't working for you. Understood. And wish you the best. We're going to, we'll be cutting out on this in just a moment. I do have something from Squeak as well, who says that they're pretty sure the law that you mentioned, Morgan,
Yeah,
passed in Colorado. I know I
awesome.
did a transgender joy about it, and I'm trying to remember if it had. I thought it was just on the just a bill, but Squeak is saying pretty sure it did. My parents had gender affirming care in Colorado and Denver last summer, so good. Thanks, Squeak. Thanks for that. Update. Very, very important. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Morgan, I want to, because I want to take a break pretty soon. I want to end up asking you. I just got one question. It
Yeah.
could make this answer as long as you want it to be. Are you happy with the results?
Yes. And I wasn't at first. I couldn't see. My face is swollen up. I'm like,
Right.
did I do the right thing? I have a little metal plate in my head. I wasn't sure about that. Like a little piece of titanium, like that big.
Yeah.
Um, I can tell you a lot about it now. Um, but having gone through like the first couple weeks, and it's really gross when you take your first shower and stuff like that afterwards. And
Right.
um, but it all of it fails in comparison to the joy that you can have in being you and seeing you, and then getting gendered more correctly. Living authentically is just really learning to love yourself
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
loving how you show up, like that little peek in the mirror that you just had last night, right? It's kind of like I
Yeah.
get that. uh I love being affirmed. It's fun, but it shouldn't just have to do with other people. I should affirm myself, but sometimes it's hard when you deal with a lot of stress. But
Oh
when you
yeah.
catch a little glimpse in your mirror and like, oh wait, that's really cool, or I love that, or someone, you're in there like, hey ladies, or whatever. That's really fucking affirming. Sorry,
It
I don't know if
is.
I can do that.
It's fine. I dropped an F-bomb earlier, so it's cool.
it
That's good.
I would say if it's something that you're thinking about, it's pretty cool if you have the insurance to do it.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
And we're really good at little, so you may not think, like, your logical brain's like, wait, I can't see a difference, but that little subconscious part of your brain, the feeling of greater affirmations and stuff like that of yourself, but really people notice little differences sometimes. And
Oh,
so
I
and
agree.
and we're really good at generalizing, like, that's a feminine, that's a masculine trait, or whatever. There's little things you do for yourself sometimes pay off in other ways. So, but
I
they're not
agree.
required, right? So
No. No, and I'm glad you brought that up. The idea that you have to have surgery in order to be like a real transgender woman or something. I agree. That's false. Complete false. Completely false. All right. I'm good. So Brenda's saying, oh, you can read. But Brenda says, thank you. It's enlightening to hear from someone who's been there. I'm gonna I'm gonna go ahead and take a break. I do want to say, Morgan, I think it's been what, 5 or 6 weeks since you got surgery. Is that right? Are we up to 6 weeks
yeah,
now?
July
About
1st.
6 weeks. Okay. Oh, okay. So yeah, 6 weeks. Thank you very much for having not just the courage to talk about it, because that's pretty important, but also to to endure jerks who are gonna say things like weirdo in a chat,
I embrace
because
my weirdness. I think it's awesome. So thanks for noticing.
yeah, yeah, well, that's fine. I mean, we'll dump the guy, and but what's the point here? So there you go. All right, well, so thank you so much. I'm gonna give you the big heart there that I give you.
Yeah, I can't do the new little ones that are like this, or however.
Yeah, I don't know. I heard
There we
that's
go.
what boys do. So I'm like, well, screw. Oh yeah, that one's tough too. I can't do that one well, but that's fine.
So
All right. Well, thank you again, Morgan, and by all means, hang out. If you want to, just
cool.
I'm gonna take a break. So
Thank you for having me on, and thanks
yeah,
everybody. Appreciate it.
yeah, definitely. Thank you again. All right. I So I'm gonna take a break here. That's good. We have another person who's got to be a jerk. Why, we don't know, but So, what I want to do here is about energy production in the comments, and I definitely want to address those because I think it's important. Because those are also the things that I do. So, stick around. I'm Amethyst Herrick, talking about gender and identity, and we just talked about some facial feminization surgery, and I'll be back in 5 minutes. All right, well, I got tired of waiting, so I'm back. I mean, there's only like 30 seconds before I would have come back anyway, but here we go. Here's my station identification. I am Dr. Amethyst Herrick. You're listening to Identify Yourself, where I'm talking about how peak trans is very similar to peak oil in its denial of science. So before I go a whole lot further, I do have there are a whole lot of comments where we were talking about energy, and I want to take those. It's going to be somewhat of a shift. I recognize it was probably a lot more fun to listen to Morgan than otherwise, but here we go. Here's what I want to do. So let me look at these. So we're looking at oil fields in Alberta are amongst the least efficient and most polluting sources of oil anywhere. This is coming from Margie. Truth. Pretty much every source of oil that is not light, sweet, crude within the first, depending upon the size of the reserve, of course, that is not pumping out of the ground on its own is polluting and it's inefficient. Again, it's possible to get oil at a net energy of a very good positive net energy. Not true now. That's the point. So Drace brings up the point that Titan has a lot of hydrocarbons. Holy cats. So yes, I know that there's is it Titan? It might be Titan, but I know that there are planets that are completely made out of methane. Like maybe Jupiter. Maybe it's Jupiter that was largely methane. The thing is, we can't even make it to Mars. I mean, it's really hard to get to Mars, largely because it goes to because we can't get out of the Earth's whatever it's called, the Earth's atmosphere, the Earth's gravitational field easily. So that's even less efficient, unfortunately. So Delos says that they got a comment here when all this happened. So it was really when Trump got elected for the first time. So they were working at a scale yard and saw so many train loads of coal come through. It was absolutely sick. I don't know if you mean that it made you sick. I will say coal is ridiculously dirty to burn. And the idea that Trump wanted to go back to coal was one of those things that was just like, oh, sigh. Like, what are we doing? Just a way to deny all kinds of things. Oh, I see Jade just joined. I don't know, Jade, if you've been here a long time or if you're still here. But Jade, if you are, hi. So let's see. Thistle says, let's pull dollars out of the equation and just talk work and resources. Here's the thing, Thistle, you can't. If we just talk work and resources, you still have to consider how you're going to get it out. And bear in mind, I'm not talking dollars. When we talk net energy, that is net energy, not net currency. There are a lot of other things that flow into that, but net energy should be currency independent. And so that was sort of the point that I was going toward there. Let me see what we got going here. So Thistle brings up nuclear energy. Good question about nuclear energy. It turns out that you can make like a fuel rod. You can do all the centrifuging and make yourself an enriched fuel rod. But the thing is, nuclear, that's not all you got. The reactor itself is only made in a couple of places in the world. I don't remember the exact number now, but I think there's a lead time of about 10 years to make this reaction vessel. And that's ridiculously expensive to make in terms of energy. Very, very expensive. So nuclear, I want to say that if you had a nuclear reactor running for on the order of like 40 or 50 years, you might break even. But 50-year lead time is really dang long, really long when it comes to an energy source. It's a pretty long bet. Margie brings up that thorium has it's more technologically accessible than fusion. True. It's still a nuclear technique. So let's see. Thistle brings up that as far as nuclear fission goes, the biggest problem is containment, right? You have to have an actual reaction vessel. You have to be able to contain what's going on there. And that's hard because you end up with high pressures, high water point pressures, yada, yada. And there you go. So anyway, so from what I hear, okay, so let's see. Produces fusion stuff, produces a ton of radiation. Might be. I don't, fission and fusion, you're talking about. I'm a little unsure. I'm a little unsure. There are a lot of things that we could conceivably try, but it doesn't, I don't know how well it's actually going to end up, how well it's going to end up working. So uranium, where are we going here? Uranium is the shield. I'm going back through these. Thorium-232 says being bombarded with neutrons makes U-233. There you go, fun stuff. Thank you, Miss Chief, for saying that I'm good, like what Morgan was saying. All right, and now I think we went through all of those. There was something Anita said that earlier on that I wanted to bring up, by the way. Anita says, I like this too, because I'm going to show this here. I've always been skeptical toward the idea of being authentic. And this goes on to, that's not the whole thing. I was just taking a drink. Because Anita says that they've always experienced gender as other people's expectations. Now, I don't disagree. Because I believe that I mean, obviously, if you're a fan of Judith Butler, you will say, well, all gender is a social construct. I don't agree with that entirely. Obviously, my own theory of gender includes the physical, the cognitive, the behavioral, and some of these are not chosen. Some of them are not affected by society. Some of them are wholly voluntary, and so I don't go along with that entirely. The idea now, using the word authentic, I think I agree is kind of a strange word because. I think it's a strange word because it would imply that you're faking something. And I think every one of us fakes something. Like, I don't think any of us is going to be completely authentic. If for no other reason than you're like, gosh, you know what? I really don't want to tell the world that I love Jerry Lewis. Like the French. I don't want to do that. But that's, it's an excellent point. What is authenticity? Because I think it's sort of bandied about now as some sort of a, some sort of a goal, but authenticity is something that would continue to change because there are things that you go, like when I was a kid, I wore all, well, in my 20s until my 40s, come to think of it, but I wore all black, my hair was all black, I had tons of black, eyeliner, and I was like, yeah, the world's a terrible place. Was that authentic? I mean, it's different now, right? Now I present differently. Even if it's just, even if we were just talking about, physically, but I'm a different kind of person. So anyway, it's a great point, Anita, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I don't think it's all social construct. I think that there is an internal sense of it and of what we're talking about. And as a result, authentic there's a lot to that, a lot to authenticity. So, all right, let me see. I'm trying to go through here. I'm sorry. Now I'm way far behind. I'm like 20 minutes back. So here we go. So Margie does bring up that where she is now, publicly supported surgery is makes the wait time really long, and that's sorry. I mean, I'm sorry to hear that for sure. Thistle also brings up that surgery is not covered. Yeah, insurance is a terrible thing. Really, really horrible. Gonna kick someone forward, or I'm gonna kick forward here. Fun fact about anesthesia. Doesn't stop you from feeling pain. Your brain just turns off, but your body still feels it, and your parasympathetic nervous system will react to it. Good point. But an interesting tidbit with hypnosis, you can actually turn that off. I have I can't remember if I talked about this. I had a bruise. It's less now. But I've been getting some physical therapy, and I used self-hypnosis to turn down the pain. Okay? And I woke up the next day, and I was like, oh my God, I'm all bruised. So I went and I saw the physical therapist today, and I said, gosh, I ended up all bruised. And she goes, yeah, that's normal. And I was like, oh, well, that sucks. I'm like, I guess I thought it was going to be a bad thing to turn all that down. So, all right, let's see. What do we got here? I froze. Okay, here we go. So Thistle asks the question, are there any science hippies who know more than this about me Could you tell me, could fusion help us reach the supposed island of stability, the super heavy elements beyond our current periodic table? First of all, I don't know if I'm going to call myself a science hippie, first of all. The problem, of course, once you get above a certain level, in fact, iron 57, it's not even a big nucleus. It is by its nature unstable. So I don't, fusion could probably give us the ability to smack things together hard enough that could possibly give us some of the energy to smack things together hard enough. But I'm still going to come up with, and I didn't even mention fusion in terms of its net energy. Because let's just look at the Livermore National Labs. They have constructed an entire building. There is a huge stainless steel reactor. They have, I believe it was 196 lasers, all of which go through this remarkable huge set of optics so that they all come down into one thing so that they can blow something up and push things into it together. And guess what? That takes a lot of energy to make. And so even if we do end up pulling energy out of that fusion reactor, we have so much that we got to make up for. Oh my gosh, so much energy. So much energy. So, all right, Margie is back. Good, thank you. Time dilation. Yeah, I came in a little early. Thistle says we can't be mining other planets yet. Oh, Margie makes the point that coal releases more radioactive material than fission. I don't know that I wasn't aware of that. Cardboard Master asks, what's this channel about? At this point, it looks like we're talking about a whole lot of things. So, all right, let me see. We're back to energy. Extracting hydrocarbons from a distant planet wouldn't be efficient for use on Earth, yeah? In situ, probably worth it. Yes, in situ, yeah. If you were flying past, you're like, oh gosh, we totally need some hydrocarbons. Let's drop off on Titan and get some. Probably, so. Anita says, before we can mine the asteroids, we should first set up that factory on Mars. Yeah, we're struggling with that, aren't we? So, liquid, so you're talking, so Margie is saying liquid fluoride thorium reactors. Liquid fluorides, much easier to make. By saying liquid fluoride, are we talking about a molten salt? Because molten salt takes a lot of energy, but let me see. Oh, look at this. Starting Point says, I muted him, but after you muted me on 30 different channels, 200 other people saw this. Trans people are all abominations that should have been aborted, so F you. Well, you told me now, didn't you? I'm still here doing my show and you're not. Oh, wow. Talk about showing me up. All right. What else do we have here? The idea of being authentic. So here we go. So Anita says, the idea of being authentic is too much rooted in a binary use of true and false. I agree. Rather see a range of being that is more comfortable than other ranges. So thank you. That was even better. Excellent point. And I love that. And I think that's where I was trying to say too. Agreed that there isn't I am authentic, I am not authentic. It's it is definitely a spectrum, maybe we'd call it. I don't know. Let's see. Genevieve says late again. It's okay. Let me see. There was something I know I saw. Here we go. Miss Chief saw Jerry Lewis, hoping to see a crazy rock and roll pianist, but was disappointed to find a little fella with Dean Martin. I know, what a bummer, right? I think it was the wrong guy, but all right, let me see. So we're gonna go. Let me go back to this a little bit. We're doing great thoughts about energy. Let me bring back the idea that I was talking about before we went on the break. After 2009, what we saw. After 2009, what we saw was the world didn't fall apart. After there was the prediction of peak oil that is pretty much bearing out, and conservatives called this a failure of liberal politics. And I will say again, it wasn't liberal politics, that's actually science. And And it's so much easier to point to politicians. You still see conservatives out there going, yeah, peak oil, much like climate change. Yes, we're still afloat. And we absolutely don't know how much longer that's going to be. But it's become this standard rally cry. It's this cry around which conservatives can do. Denial of what a scientist has done. Denial of like observations. Like we have observations of science. But it's become this standard rally cry. So it's kind of funny, you have the party that says, oh, we are the party of reason. The party of science. We're just going to deny everything. Of course, they also say they're the party of individual rights. And that's not bearing out really well these days, is it, guys? You're struggling with that. So, back to peak trans, because this was supposed to be my funny bit here. Well, it's not a funny bit, but when we return to peak trans, what I understand now, peak trans is supposed to represent is that one day you just wake up this morning, the sun dawns through your window. Reason suddenly sprouts within your head, and for purposes known only to yourself, you scream to the universe, that's it! I am willing to misgender somebody out of general principle. Why not? And it's very similar, in my opinion, to peak oil. It's just like global peak conventional oil extraction, because you've reached this peak, apparently, of giving a crap about the transgender community, and you're willing to strike out on your own and take a piece out of them as well. But also, like peak oil, gender is not only just a concept. Much like net energy is not just a concept, but a practical limit that engineers face every time they design something. Also, like peak oil, we observe gender in nature, including gender in humans, much like we observe falling net energy in petroleum products. Using the phrase peak trans as a rallying cry hit me this morning. It's so remarkably appropriate because what it does is deny observations. When you deny observations of oil extraction methods over 150 years and deny where that's going to go, it takes a really special kind of person to be able to do that. And if you can deny observations of gender through every species in nature, that takes a really special kind of person as well. And I guess, that special kind of person's a conservative, a modern conservative. It's kind of no surprise that the people who deny both at once are going to be the same party of people, the conservatives. I'm not going to say that this is not a claim that liberal politicians are necessarily any more scientifically savvy, because, yeah, not a good history there either. But at the very least, they appear to have the good sense not to naysay the people who know what we're talking about and then laugh about it later. You may as well just go, you know what? Ha! Here I am, and I've built this this tremendous. Here we go. I was saying sand. We were running out of sand. I think I mentioned sand. Good sand for making concrete is actually becoming very rare. Sand. The whole world has a ton of sand, right? But we're running out of good sand. There's a good sand that's good for making concrete. And so what conservatives are doing is going, it doesn't make a difference if we have sand or not. Right? I'm just going to make this pedestal, put myself on top of it. I'm going to make a bigger pedestal for our orange Napoleon. Put him on top of that. And then be surprised when it starts to crumble and just laugh at it. Well, they said we needed good sand, but look, we're falling over just fine. Jesus. Peak trans. What a completely appropriate, phrase to use there. It's supposed to be this wry nod to the failure of peak oil. And all it does is display your idiocy further. So thanks so much. I do appreciate that. This is a great point. I'm just going to pop that up there. They're the party of individual rights if you're part of the right class and parrot the same things they parrot. Ooh, yeah. So let's see. What are we doing here? What is like David Attenborough with potty humor? Is this Z Frank? There you go. All right, I'm gonna have to look at this guy too. I know I have heard the name, but I have never. I just haven't I haven't watched anything, so that's kind of a bummer. But I think we should. Here we go. So let's see. Sand is like another grain, like salt that's used for power generation. Fortunately, when Prince was making music, he did not need salt or sand for the new power generation, and am I going to get crickets for that one? Come on, it was pretty good. I love that. Ozymandias. Thank you so much, Dallas, for bringing up. Who is that? Is that T.S. Eliot? I think it's T.S. Eliot. What a phenomenal poem that is, and I think that was absolutely perfect. That was absolutely perfect. Yeah, it's a poem about the fall of ancient civilization, as Dalo says. And I love this, actually, because Ozymandias is about, because it's a statue to tell me, Dallas, was it a king? I think it was a king, statue of a king, not a god. But it's out in the middle of nowhere. It's out in the middle of the desert in this poem, and it's an allegory of humanity builds all these great things, and we go, woo, look at this. We're so glad that we have we have our great stuff. But the funny thing is, like, if nature were to go, I think we're all done with you. We're all done. There's I was talking about this with somebody recently. I'm trying to remember who it was. Behold my works, ye mighty, and despair. I was talking about this with somebody where we're actually seeing, I remember seeing people. There was a hurricane or something. I don't even remember what it was, but it was like a hurricane, and somebody said, like, not even ironically, the government should do something about this. About a hurricane? Okay. I mean, like, good luck. Good luck. The government should do something about nature. Yeah, well, I mean, Trump can write an executive order, right? Write an executive order that says we have decided no more hurricanes are allowed to come to the United States, and I guess let's see how well that goes. I once heard a phrase, and I don't know if this is a Texas phrase or something. Maybe somebody can confirm and or deny. But the phrase goes, wish in one hand and shit in the other, and let me know which one gets full first. So I think we can do that with those executive orders there now. Lovely. So what are we arguing about? We've got the most, let me see, the only material used in greater quantities by humanity than concrete is water itself. I believe that. What's funny is we end up using concrete. It was right. Some of those first bits of concrete are used to make aqueducts. So there you go. It had to. We got to the point where we were using more water because we used concrete to move water from one place to another. In Roman times, those old Roman times. So, let me see. Let me move past some of these. Didn't want. Oh gosh. So, I think this is true. I wasn't entirely remembering the story, but sorry, I missed it. That's true too. But, I think this is a true story. I think it is that there was a big hurricane coming, and Trump. This was in between 2016 and 2020, and he said, "Oh, we should just be able to drop a nuke in the eye of the hurricane, and no big deal, right? Of course, you do have to fly over a hurricane. That's a bit of a thing, and you are going to detonate a nuclear device on the planet I'm not sure that there's a stupider idea that's come out than I've heard, but I'm sure that we can come up with one. Because how about space lasers? Right? We can have. I don't. You're saying space lasers. What about lasers on cats' heads? Right? That's what we need. Got a bunch of cats out there. They're affecting the weather. At some point, you're going to end up with a statue in the middle of nowhere with a Trump on it that's fallen over, and there you go. I mean, it's just. I mean, really, what in the what? It was really phenomenal to see some of the. It's really phenomenal to see some of the. Oops, I hit the wrong button there. It's really phenomenal to see some of the. Just the foolishness that comes out of our government. And it's not just our government. Anytime somebody is willing just to disregard a whole bunch of science, you're not working with somebody who's got a lot of sense. I'll just say that. I mean, and I just had a whole live stream where I talked about magic too. I mean, it's like. It's not like I'm the most super science person out here either. I mean, maybe I am because I'm talking about all this sciencey stuff. But I mean, jeez, I do love this. Look at this. This is that Austin Powers? Is that what it is? Frickin' sharks with frickin' laser beams. I think that's what it is. Let me see. So Thistle says, oops, I hit the wrong button. I did hit the wrong button. So Thistle says it just hit her, the Jehovah's Witnesses movies. I don't know, Jehovah's Witness movies. And didn't the laser raptors start as a meme? And Jurassic World ran with it. Oh, maybe. Oh, Jurassic World. I knew that was not Jehovah's Witnesses, just so you know. And I'm just asking you now, please, Jehovah's Witnesses, if you see this and you go, oh, that's it, we need to take revenge, I'm sorry, please don't come to my door, all right? You can go to the people next door. They'll totally love you. Maybe not, but Sharknado, there you go. Definitely Sharknado for the win there. I had a my sister, I love cheesy movies, and Mystery Science Theater 3000 is another one that I really loved. I love those kinds of things. My sister Laura, the first older sister Laura. Hi Laura, you're not watching, but that's fine. She gave me a DVD of Shark Attack 3. Okay, Shark Attack 3 : Megalodon. And it was awful, so bad, really, really awful. And at some point I was talking to a friend of mine. And this was, maybe 6 months after I got the thing. I don't remember exactly. But I'm talking to the guy and I said, God, I saw a really awful movie last night. And he goes, wow, what was it? And I said, Shark Attack 3. And he goes, oh my gosh, Megalodon? And I was like, what? Like, the Shark Attack the Shark Attack movies? By like their subtitle? In what world is this normal? I don't think, well, I mean, he was kind of a strange guy too, but there you go. So, here we go. Here's a good question. I think, this is my belief, I think that the worst movie that is the most fun for me to watch, and I'm still gonna go with this, is Barbarella. I loved Barbarella from the first time I saw it. Okay, maybe I wanted to be Barbarella. I totally wanted to be Barbarella. It's so awful, but I love it so much. And it's funny to me too that Duran Duran, the band, didn't I make a Duran Duran joke earlier? The band took their name from that and still misspelled it. It's pretty funny. So there you go. Anyway, that's my absolute favorite. I'm not really sure what this means. Leonid says, would you rather see a tree grow or a knee grow? That's supposed to be funny, isn't it? What a fool. All right, here we go. Now, hang on. Let me get rid of this person, right? Oh, am I not going to? Here we go. You know what, though, in 10 minutes, when the when this has elapsed, this person's going to come back and say, so F you. That's what it's going to be. All right, here we go. Let me see. What do we got? Xanadu. Okay. You almost may have trumped my Barbarella. And thank you, Drace. Yeah, don't read their stuff out loud. I understood. Once it came on, or once it came out of my mouth, I went, oh, why did I do that? I may go with Xanadu on you. You may have got me. The thing is with Xanadu, right? You've got Gene Kelly, instead of Jane Fonda. So it's sort of like Gene Kelly, Jane Fonda. Hard to say. I'm not. It's a scale that I'm just like, well, I think it's pretty evenly balanced. So I don't know this one. Birdemic. What is this about? Is that I've got an idea, but Olivia Neutron Bomb. There you go. I haven't seen that. Gene Kelly and Olivia Newton-John was another. She was pretty obviously awesome. Wait, I skipped your movie. Thistle, what did you put up? How did I miss it? Oh my god. Velocipaster? What? Are we going to have to look this up? What is that about? What is that about? Oh, by the way, speaking of Xanadu, so This'll drop a comment, so I don't know what that is. Margie says Xanadu is fabulously bad, and the soundtrack is epic. Right? You've got the whole thing done by ELO, the Electric Light Orchestra, doing the entire Xanadu soundtrack. And if you didn't like ELO before, listen to the Xanadu soundtrack, and it's probably not going to change your mind, because it's really, it's like late ELO that you go, oh, okay, all right. What do we got? Birdemic is so bad, it's funny. Oh my god, okay. Velocipaster is like a werewolf, but a velociraptor, and he's a pastor. So it's a Christian, a Protestant type priest type feller who's who turns into a velociraptor, possibly at the full moon. I don't even know. Obviously, I got to go and see if I can find this. The whole movie probably had a budget of $20. There you go. They spent it on beer and weed. That could be. That's how they made it. Actually, so listen to this. Look at this. I'm getting pushback. Jeff Lynne is not just a musical genius. He's also a genuinely fabulous guy. I seem to remember, Margie, you said that you knew somebody. Was this right? You knew somebody down the road or something like that who knew that. I can't remember. Tell me the story again. But there we go. The person who's the ELO guy, one of the ELO guys, was, I think Margie either met the person or knew somebody who met the person, or maybe met the person at one point. Who knows? So, Drace, I'm going to tell you, because here you go. Drace says, I hate these questions because even though I have such movies in mind, the stress of answering makes me draw a blank. Do you want to know how long, Drace? So I showed this, okay, because do you know how long I've used Barbarella as an answer? At some point, I remember I was like sitting alone, and I'm like, God, Barbarella is one of those awful movies I just really love. Because I've watched, I used to own it on DVD, so like every Friday night or something, I pull the thing out, and it's like, hey, that's a lot of fun. And so I've probably been using that answer for 20 years? I mean, I'm with you. When somebody says, hey, what's your favorite food or something? I'm like, mac and cheese. Because it was when I was 8. And I don't think I've changed much since I was 8. Maybe not. I have to put this up just because. Is the Velocipaster hoping for the Velocirapture? That was really good. I mean, here you go. You get you get a heart for that. Dang, that was good. That was really, really great. Oh, see, so here we go. Same. See, Drace, you're not alone. Margie's used Xanadu as her answer for a decade now. Watch it every New Year's. Right? Wait, you do watch it every New Year's? I mean, I guess that's a good idea, right? Because there you got the dance, the skate scene at the end. Apparently I've seen Xanadu before, huh? Anyway, that was it. I saw that. I'm gonna date myself so badly, but I saw that when I was a kid in the theater, and I remember I walked out of it and I was like, "Wow, that was the greatest thing I've ever seen." Oh my gosh, I can't believe how amazing that was. And I know I went to see it. When I went to see this, it was gosh, maybe we were in the California high desert. I don't remember exactly because I remember it was my younger sister Gail, and my father. And so my father took the two of us, and I remember I walked out and I was like, God, that was amazing. Oh my God, that was so great. Oh my gosh, I want to be a muse just like what's her name? Margie will tell me. And my sister Gail was like, oh my gosh, yes, it was so amazing. Wow, that was the greatest thing. And my father looked at us and said, that was a piece of shit. And we added another 0 to all of the therapy that both my sister and I needed for the rest of our lives. Thanks, Dad. Wow. Support your children. This is my point. Support your children, okay? Definitely better to watch Xanadu than to hang out with expensive drunken yahoos. I think that's fair. So here we go, Liz. Movie posters in the 1980. The movie that she loved at the time was The Black Hole. I did not see The Black Hole in the theater, but I will say this, and I feel like I've probably told this story, but I'm going to tell it again just because I love it. When everybody and his brother was going to see E.T., I went and saw Tron because I was like, hey, computers are cool. What is that, 1982, 83? Who knows? I was like 12 or 13 years old. I'm like, I love computers. I'm going to go and see, I'm going to go and watch this. And I'm like, come with me. And everybody else was like, no. No, because we heard E.T. was the best thing of all times. And then it ended up winning It was like 117,000 Academy Awards, somewhere along those lines. 117,000, I think. Give or take like 116,990. But, pretty close. But I'm like, I'm going to go see Tron. And I was like, well, no big deal. I sit down in the theater and I'm like, I am 100% alone. I'm like 12 or 13 years old at I'm here in it was like Totem Lake Theater in Kirkland, Washington. Morgan knows where I'm talking about. So I'm there in like the theater in Totem Lake thinking, somebody is so going to kidnap me. And then I thought, and then you'll regret not coming and seeing Tron with me 30 years later when you're adding another 0 to the therapy bill that's going to happen after our father's already destroyed, our complete identity by hating on Xanadu. You're going to go, and I can't believe it. I should have just gone to see Tron with her. But now she's gone, and she's been gone for 57 years. What's going to happen? I'm not 57, by the way, everybody. Just saying. So that's crazy. Morgan says, you worked at a movie theater when Titanic came out? Oh my gosh. I will tell you, when I saw that, because I don't know, was that early 90s, maybe mid 90s? When Titanic came out, here's what I did. I went to go and see it, and I saw it in the theater, because I guess you gotta. It was the law that year. I'm looking at this, I'm watching the movie, and the first thing I did was go, oh my gosh, Leonardo DiCaprio, holy cow. Dang, that's a beautiful person. So, so beautiful. And then I went, oh, wait a minute. Oh, shoot, what's her name? Kate. Oh my gosh, what's her last name? Help me out, folks. Kate, hang on. Somebody tell me. Oh, well, whatever. Anyway, Kate whatever, Winslet, Kate Winslet. I went, no, that's a more beautiful person. And then we went on about half an hour and I went, no, it's definitely Leonardo. And then we went on 30 minutes and I went, no, it's definitely Kate Winslet. And then I went, no, Leonardo, no. And then anyway, I walked out of there and I was like, here's the point. Ultimately, what happened is that my heart has gone on and on. And I'm going to go and buy the movie on VHS, which I swear I did. I don't think I ever watched it again, but there you go. Tron, what do we got? Because so Margie says Tron was 82. Wait a minute, really? One of the wait. Right. So you were partying with the mom of one of the performing DJs. Like you do. She was raving about Tron. Yeah. Dre says Tron was better than E.T. Totally true. Do you know, the thing is, too, I never saw E.T. until we took our kid to see E.T. locally. And that was like 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I remember I was like, yeah, it was fun. Yeah, it was cool. That's all right. So guess what? So Tron 2.0, I'm a little bit embarrassed to say this, but Tron 2.0 has already been out. That one had a soundtrack by Daft Punk. And that one was really good for what it's worth. That's my impression, or that's my opinion. And the soundtrack was exceptional. There was a Tron 3 coming out. 9 Inch Nails is doing the soundtrack to that. And I'm kind of like sort of sitting on my hands going, when's that soundtrack coming out? Because I really, really got to hear this. I don't know why, but I'm like, that's going to be so good. Spinal Tap 2. Yeah, Spinal Tap 2 is coming out. I'm curious, like, I don't know. Is Nigel Tufnell going to go, yeah, I turned my age up to 111? Like, where's the jokes? I don't know. But we'll see. Let me see. Kate Winslet, thank you. You got it. But Anita has neither seen Titanic nor Avatar. You know, I'll tell you, we saw the second Avatar, whatever that one was called. You know, my kid was like, oh, let's go see Avatar. And I ended up writing an article about it. Because I thought, what a horrible parent I am. Anyway, I'll direct you to the article rather than anything else, but geez. Okay, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. I will tell you, I've seen that once. And I think I was probably pretty, you know what I'm saying? Probably. Guarantee I was pretty drunk. That's all I'm going to say. It's so bad. Really, really, truly horribly bad. The big tomatoes like on skateboards, you know, I mean, just. And at the same time, that's why it's so good. See, Margie gets it. 9 Inch Nails Tron soundtrack, it's going to be so good, right? All I can say is that, you know, it's funny. I've been reading things. Trent Reznor is giving all kinds of interviews all of a sudden, and I'm not really sure why. Like in the last maybe year or so, 2 years, I'm sorry. Well, I will bring this up. As an Ojibwa, Avatar makes Thistle cry. I hear ya. Ugh. I hear ya. There's the obligatory white man's burden in those, right? I mean, you know, as far as white man's burden films go, like, that's one of the white man's burden-iest, isn't it? Back to Trent Reznor. He gave some interviews recently. In one of the interviews that I read, he was like, yeah, I kind of regret doing the Downward Spiral. I'm like, really? Your best album, you regret doing the Downward Spiral? And it all came down to Closer. It all came down to one song, Closer, where he was like, in context, clearly it means something different than what frat boys dancing at a gay club thought it meant. And it was like, well, yeah, but, you know, like we all know that. You know, we all knew it was different. The frat boys dancing at the gay club, they didn't know that. But you know what? They're not your audience, Trent. So let it go. Let it go. Yeah, right? Is he okay? I will say, I I also really liked The Fragile, and I know that one got panned all over the place. I've barely listened to the I can't remember what it's called, but 0 Year Zero. Is that what it was? Oh my gosh. Oh, so Thistle asks, what does it mean? Well, so the chorus, presumably you remember, goes, I want to F you like an animal. And this is why frat boys, that's why Closer is the single most overplayed song at fetish parties ever. I'm sure that's true. So what does it mean in context? This, the downward spiral. Trent was super duper depressed at the time. If I remember correctly, this was also recorded because he ended up buying the mansion where the Manson murders occurred. He bought that mansion, built a recording studio, and was recording this stuff in it. Wish I could remember what the it's not Hearst Castle. I don't know. Margie's going to put it up in like 5 minutes, and I'll totally miss the thing. But he was super duper depressed. That whole idea, the downward spiral thing, is about, it's about pretty much somebody who ends up spiraling, to unaliving themselves. Let me just leave it like that. To the point where you get to that last song, I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. Hi, Kwame, by the way. Good to see you. Gosh, I haven't seen you in a while. Hi, Kwame. So anyway, the point here is that, Closer was not intended as like this anthem to sex, but rather, ultimately, like there's something way at the end and it's way in the background, but it says, I drink the honey from inside your hive. You're the reason I stay alive. So in context, it was supposed to be, I've got a girlfriend, and fortunately I've got, I can get laid. But that's all it's supposed to be about. And then it's the lead in to you're the only reason I'm still here, and then spiraling downward. So, Kwame, thank you for the rose. That was super kind. Thank you. So Head Like a Hole, that entire Pretty Hate Machine, right, was about, incidentally, let me, how quickly can I tell this story? 6:51? I can tell it quickly. Let's start with this. My ex-wife, all right, it's already a good story. My ex-wife had a boyfriend before, obviously, we got together, blah-de-blah. Anyway, she was connected to the music scene in some way. And people like Beggar's Banquet type people, because one of the people she was dating was in a band that was on Beggar's Banquet. So Bauhaus, I'm sure you remember, Bauhaus was on Beggar's Banquet, Tones on Tail, Love and Rockets. Nine Inch Nails was not on Beggar's Banquet, but the point here was that she ran in circles that ultimately included Trent Reznor and now also what's his face from Depeche Mode. I'm trying to remember what. Anyway, the singer, not a big deal because apparently he's kind of a weenie, but she apparently ended up good friends. So Pretty Hate Machine, that whole album is supposedly about this one girl that Trent wanted to date in like high school. Like apparently it's not even it's not that complicated. It's like high school or something ridiculous. And he had to write a whole album to say she said no. It's like, wow, hey, it only took 2 minutes to tell that whole story. That wasn't bad. Actually, it was pretty good. That's kind of sad. Right? So Margie's saying it's about, desperation you're saying was Closer. Yeah. Yes. About desperation. I think it's a good way to put that. Well done. I do like this. Jen Hardy, who was on the show, maybe a month or so ago, she put out, there's a reason why I popped this up. So Thistle says, take things at face value. Milkshakes, totally about milkshakes. So Jen Hardy has a video. It was a short that came out in the last week or so that cracked me up so badly because it's Jen. So she's, I don't know if it's made by AI. I kind of think it is, but she's putting a scoop of ice cream like on a milkshake, right? So there you go. David Gahan, thank you, Miss Chief. Why was I not expecting you to say that too, David Gahan? His wife, like Tootie or Cookie or Zing Zing, something like that. I can't remember what her name was. My ex-wife is friends with her. Nini, Nunu, something like that. No, you were right, David Gahan. You're right. All right. Anyway, Jen has this thing. She's putting a scoop of ice cream on like a milkshake, and it's got that song playing in the background, right? You know, what is it? My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. That bit. You all know. I'm not going to sing it. You don't want me to. Anyway, so the title, it says she's putting the scoop on and it says, you know, in your 50s or after your 50s, something like that. And then it cuts to like a whole lot of guys with walkers, like shuffling into the yard and smiling. Hello, kind of thing. Anyway, I let it play like 5 or 6 times because I just kept on laughing. It was so dang funny. I don't know. I'm hopefully I'm giving it, you know, justice here, but Jen Hardy, go to her channel and find that short, because well, the other thing too though is here's the main thing. Like in your 50s, at that point you don't even care, right? You're just like, listen, I've reached cougar level. I've reached cougar level, and I think that when you reach cougar level, it's like another epic kind of level, right? So you have like, you know, you have C rank, and then B rank, and then A rank is good, and S rank, and that's pretty good. Double S, you know, you do like double as SS, that's a really good rank, but then you hit cougar. And I think that's even better, right? You're above double S. It's so amazing, right? You're like, you've turned into every person with the exception of Sarah Jessica Parker on that Sex and the City show. I mean, all of them rolled up into one. And they just sort of show, there you go, GILF, there you go, pretty much like that. I mean, it's pretty stunning. I think when you hit your 50s, you've turned into cougar mode, and you're bringing much more than like dudes with walkers to the yard. That's all I was going to say. That is all I was going to say. Because Dre says, hey, I resemble that. Oh, no, I hope not. Maybe not. But, all right. I love this too. Because here you go. 2 people, you know, possibly around the same age. Was also on HRT. One of them is menopausal. And then the other one is pubescent, which is pretty sweet. I love that. Good times. All right. I am a little under... Oh, you're 4 years older. All right. You just made me think of... what's the... End of the World, I think it is. It's a Faith No More song. It's the very last song on... whatever. The one that has Epic and the one with back and forth as away with the wind. Anyway, Falling to Pieces. Very last song on that. End of the World. It's not the point that I'm 40 years older is how the that's how the line goes. It's not said in a good way. So I'm laughing about it, but there you go. I'm just going to pull this up. Andrea is says she joined late, but I do want to bring up because Andrea is she's an awesome person. Thank you, Andrea, for dropping by. You don't have to have the slightest idea what's going on, because I think for the last, I don't know, 40 minutes maybe, we've been riffing on nothing. Literally nothing. It could have been a Seinfeld episode, except it all took place in my room, and which actually, I guess they didn't have a lot of sets there either, so maybe it could work. Oops, I missed it, dang. Here you go. Delos has hit cougar level. Your boyfriend's 8 years younger. There you go. I think you hit it. You got it. There we go. Hang on. I'm going to bring this up just quickly. The real thing. That was it. Thank you. Yeah, I think when you're dating somebody 8 years younger, I think you've hit it. So there you go. There you go. All right. A super cougar. See, so you've got regular You've got, B rank, meh. A rank, that's pretty good. S rank, not bad. SS, ooh, you're getting there. Cougar, super cougar. Oh my gosh. All of a sudden, a C is not that bad of a rank to have, right? All right. It is now 7 o'clock. I'm going to go and eat some dinner because it struck me in the middle of this. I got up because I'm like, oh, I'm going to take a break, right? At least this time I remembered to turn on the counter. I mean, that's something. But it struck me. I got up, I got some water, and I was like, God, why am I so hungry? Seems like I shouldn't be this hungry. And then I realized, yeah, what I had was like Starbucks and a bagel today. So no wonder I might be a titch weird. I mean, weirder than usual. Weirder than usual. So, all right. Well, thank you, everybody. I see Morgan just came back, too. So, Morgan, thank you for showing up. Margie, Miss Chief, Delos, Kwame. I had so many people, and I love doing these things. And Andrea, and Margie, and Anita. I wish I could remember everybody's name, but I never do. Genevieve, and Drace, and even people, Brenda, even people who were kind of mean, but allowed me to riff on them. Because who was the name of the guy who said, so F you? There you go. No, one cannot live by a bagel alone. And for some reason, I'm still sitting here not hanging up. So I'm going to do that. Thank you again, everybody. Totally loved you. Totally loved this. Totally love you. And I'll see you on Sunday.